Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Mandatory Mando. The show that changes names every year depending on when we do it and what show we're watching. Hi, everybody. Craig Goldberg here, live in Atlanta, Georgia on what night is it? On a Thursday night. I almost said a Tuesday night. Thursday night.
It's your birthday, Craig.
It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Birthday.
Yes, I think I will be going to Coruscant to partake in the nightlife way away from the Outer Rim.
Maybe a little popsicle action?
Maybe.
All right.
What were those called? They weren't popsicles. They were something.
Glow. Oh, geez.
Glowworms.
Yeah,
Frosty glow
sucking
pops.
on glowworms.
Second on a glowworm. Welcome everybody to the show. Thank you for being here on the YHS Podcast YouTube channel. Joining us, our special guest tonight, all the way from the West Coast, from Forlom to Zuckus, is, I would call it his identity.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he identifies. And he is a great friend of the show. He's joining us for the first time this season. Jake Stevens. What's up, man? How are you?
Hello. I am making sure my battery gets plugged in so we don't get a early out here. That worked.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
I am very good. A little flustered coming in today. Coming in hot, like Mando skydiving into his N1 starfighter. That's kind of me into the basement today.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I got to tell you, I'm long on record saying skydiving scenes are my favorite scenes in anytime someone's jumping from a plane or a ship and in free fall, I'm all in.
It's exciting for you because you could never do it.
I could skydive.
Tom Cruise is your guy then, right? He's your go-to then. He tries
He's
to
my
skydive
go-to.
how many times?
And I
Per
heard Pedro
movie.
Pascal does all of his own stunts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all of
I
his
bet
own
that was
voiceover
life-changing.
work.
his vocal stunts. He does them
Yeah.
all. He does them all.
Oh my God. Well, Jake, we haven't, connected in a little bit. How are you? What's going on in your world of Star Wars these days?
World of Star Wars. Well, Star Wars has been a little slow. I mean, outside of the season of Bad Batch and Mando, keeping us alive every Wednesday. In regards to outside of that, things are trickling along. It's slow. This is the slow season, right? It used to be Toy Fair this time of year, but now we kind of got robbed on that. So
Well, we kind of got a Toy Fair this week. We got some Tusken Warriors.
we got
one
two-
each.
well,
Oh.
one
Mhm.
figure. You can, baby and, child is
Just,
much
yeah,
how
just
you
as good.
mush
Yeah.
those up. There hasn't been a lot of Star Wars action so much collectible wise. I'm not doing all the 6-inch, and so the 3 3/4 has been pretty mellow these last few months. I did get my Cantina band member pack though, which
Perfect.
I was pretty hesitant on that, but it came out looking pretty stinking awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I got to get my hands on that.
Yeah, you gotta pick that up. I mean, it's 7 identical figures, but the accessories make it worth it, right?
Sure.
And it's
sure.
just a little bit of an upgrade from these bad boys that came out in 97, I think. The Cantina band member. But I did do. What's that?
I was gonna say every toy store in America still has the
Mhm.
Cantina bands, the Power of the Force set. Just
Yeah.
waiting to be
In a
bought.
bin.
Right.
In a bin.
Right.
Living in a bin.
Yeah, no. But I did start a review channel for my toys because I got too many of them, and if you were to look around the room here, you'd be disgusted with how many carded figures and boxed toys I have. So that's where the Toy Night Show came from. So trying to get more toys played with. So that's kind of been my thing of late.
Cool. Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and we really appreciate your help with the Jeffries this year.
It
That
was
was
a blast. It was
that was a ton of
fantastic.
fun.
Mhm.
You inducted our good friend Luke Skywalker into the Hall of Fame. The
I sure
the
did.
Bespin Luke.
Might have a
And-
bin of them over here somewhere.
Well, we appreciate you being here. I believe that Ryan Dole may pop in a few, but let me go ahead and say hi to everybody. Abigail, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for all of you in the chat who are sounding off saying, like, glad that I'm back. I appreciate that.
You had a night off. And
Yeah,
now
I
you're
had a
back.
night off. I enjoyed it. I needed it. Needed a little rest, but now I'm back. And I just watched this episode a second time today, so I'm ready to talk about it, and I'm really happy that Jake can join us.
Yeah, for sure.
Me
Um,
too.
Hey,
Yeah.
before we get going, guess what? We have a giveaway. First time ever on Mandatory Mando.
Oh,
Here we
is
go.
it me?
So
Are you giving me away?
we're giving Jake Stevens away and his collection.
His personal phone number will be auctioned off at the end of this show.
Yes. There's 7 digits plus a zip code. It's a whole thing. No, I've been holding on to this for a while, and I didn't know what to do with it because it didn't fit anywhere in my Star Wars collection. But I thought, you know what? This is the perfect week for this giveaway. So what we have here is a Topps Authentic 11 by 17 Dr. Pershing autographed photo. This is authentic. This guy got an upgrade this week. I didn't think we'd ever see Dr.
That's
Pershing
hot bread
again.
now.
This is a hot bread
Hot
item.
bread.
Mhm.
All right.
Could be the last bread he produces.
Well, I don't know what they're going to have him working on now.
That's true.
Sweeping up the Death Star.
Yes. They're going to send him back to that Star Destroyer. He's going to be wandering around, much like the infected on The Last of Us. No spoilers. Okay, so to win this guy tonight, all you got to do is use hashtag #MandatoryMando on Twitter or Instagram, and post about and tag us in it at YHS Podcast. Let us know you're watching the show live, and we'll pick a winner tonight.
Hashtag Pershing needs a friend.
No, hashtag #MandatoryMando. If you
But doesn't he look like he needs a friend?
he needs some. He had a friend, and
Not
temporarily.
anymore, yeah.
So we'll advertise that again in a little bit. Travel biscuits not included. Okay, so let's get right into this. I guess let's start with our guest, Jake. How have you been feeling so far about the Mandalorian this season? Now that we've got 3 episodes in.
We got 3 episodes in, and if you guys tuned in last week to Geek Dad Life 2, I shared some thoughts on that second episode, but the first episode definitely felt like a kind of a preamble to most of this season. So still appreciated it, still enjoyed it, but it didn't have a lot of meat on the bones there, since it was a lot of recycled lines that they had to get through for Boba Fett. So
right.
Yeah.
So they kind of washed over, lukewarm-ish on the first one, but that reveal at the end of last week was pretty fantastic. I just fear that it's sitting up too much of a repeat of what we got at Book of Boba Fett, because I really don't want to see, the final scene, seeing, Bo-Katan or Mando riding a mythosaur to wipe out, major battle at the end, just like Boba did the Rancor. So, I mean, unless they're going to have Boba on a Rancor versus the Mythosaur, then that I could sign up for, right? The kaiju battle there.
Yeah, totally. I'd watch that.
But confirmed.
Right. Can you believe that? Oh, where are the creatures? That's you brought up a sore point. The sore point for me, because there's just not enough creatures in the toy lines. I just recently picked up the Eope in the Mission Fleet line.
Okay.
And the Obi-Wan is terrible. Absolutely terrible. He is like how the Hobbits were animated in the Hobbit films, right?
Yeah.
Like that uncanny valley of the too big head on the little body, but they're supposed to be on a big body, but they're supposed to be, it just looks not right. But I had to buy it for that damn Eope. I want to support anytime Hasbro decides to put creative hands on a creature, because they just don't do it anymore. They just don't do it.
I actually had this dream the other day where I came into a large sum of money. We're talking 8 digits here. And I put together a bunch of investors, and I launched my own toy company specifically to steal the Star Wars license from Hasbro and start from scratch, because we are really far away from anything resembling a fun time collecting Star Wars toys. But that's not what's
Craig's Bow Toys.
Yeah.
Craig's Bow. Yeah. We got we got every scale.
Right.
3 3/4.
Remember when Jack Pacific tried doing every scale for a heartbeat too? Remember when they were making like 6-inch figures and 12-inch and 36, and it was horrible.
Well, listen, they're still doing that with Mario. If you go to the Mario store, otherwise known as Target. They've got 2.5-inch, 4-inch. They got 6-inch figures now. They got minis. They got everything.
Right.
We are going to get into the chat a little bit. This Soulcraft had a question. Did Bo not know what she saw, or is she keeping it close to the vest? So I think, and we'll talk about the episode. We'll get into it. As far as Bo knows.
Din? Yeah.
Bo knows.
Bo
You think Bo
knows.
knows?
But she doesn't. She's
Hashtag.
like, this is what I would equate it to. She's like a skeptic who just had a paranormal experience and it doesn't want to fully admit that she saw a ghost, right? She's not very religious. Right.
Yeah.
Listen,
Okay.
she is not in she's of royal blood.
Mhm.
Her version of being a Mandalorian is completely different than what Din's got going on.
Mm-hmm.
But she's starting to, no pun intended, see the way. This is the way. She's got her helmet on now. By the way, before we get into this, I want to say I had this idea for a movie recently. Okay. I told multiple people about this. I said there should be
ideas.
Listen.
We're having some type of existential crisis on his birthday today.
Listen.
100%.
I had an idea a couple weeks ago for a movie where there's like really bad, like imagine like Nick Cage from Con Air or from Face Off. That type of guy is in like a battle with the police and they're at a church for some reason. Anyways, yada, yada, yada. He accidentally gets baptized right before dying and goes to heaven. And the movie would be called Raising Hell. And it's about this insane guy who goes to heaven on a technicality. That's literally what happened to Bo-Katan.
I like accidental baptism better.
Okay. We'll workshop the title. What I'm saying
the international title.
Bo-Katan gets there and they're like, hey, the armor's like, you bathed, you're good. And she's like, oh, like, okay. Like, I just thought it was kind of, there's some jankiness, I think, in the presentation so far this season. But let's not.
Yeah. Right now we're just talking about the two sandwich ends and there's like a whole thing in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Abby, let's start with you. How many credits did you give this episode?
Let me fast forward here. That was last week's. I gave this episode 6 credits.
Okay.
Very reasonable for me because I tend to like give a lot of credits to these episodes, and I sort of started to realize after my second viewing of this episode through further analysis that it's really fun to watch Mando, and it's really exciting to see Grogu and that all, but like the substance and like is Mando's main plot being moved along is still kind of in question because I feel like a lot of the importance has kind of dipped a little bit. So overall, I would say I liked the B plot of this episode and had a lot of good action, but it didn't move along the story that I care about, which is like what Grogu's destiny is and how Mando's going to raise him, etc. And I am a fan of Bo-Katan, and I liked Pershing and Elia a lot, but it didn't feel like an important episode.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so did your view soften a little bit since the first viewing?
Yeah, because I felt like the first viewing, it's almost like the frozen glow popsicles, where it's like it's tasty and fun and distracting at first, but then like it's not a real substantial meal. Like it doesn't have substance to it.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Jake, how about you? How many credits do you give this episode?
Well, which show are we talking about? Andor or Mando?
Right.
Mandor.
The Mandalorian.
I've seen a lot of people make that point. It definitely the middle chunk of this episode, which was the Dr. Pershing, his story, which we've all been dying to know. It definitely. I remember I looked at Abby while we were watching it and I said, this doesn't I'm entertained and I'm interested in what's going on. This does not feel like Star Wars in the sense that a lot of times Andor didn't feel like Star Wars, but that was kind of, I thought, like a self-contained thing for that show. So yeah, Jake, walk me through some of your thoughts here.
You go to Red Robin, you order your Clucks fries. It's your go-to. You're looking forward to your shake coming, and then partway that they'll give you your fries, but as you wait for your Clucks, they bring out some like gourmet, super rich meal and they set it down and go, we need you to eat this right now. And you're like, I came here for Clucks and fries, right? So It was definitely distracting. It was a unique choice to not splice in the edits. I mean, how come we weren't going back and forth? How come we weren't lacing this in? This was definitely the book of Pershing. This was
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
was
Oops, all
this was
Pershing.
this was Andor 1.2 or whatever. And so I mean, do I want to watch that story? Yes. Do I want to watch that during my Mandalorian story? I'm
Exactly.
right. I mean, it was slow paced. It had all the calling cards of what made Andor super awesome. There's too many ands going on right now. Right. But that was my beef. Also, I guess we'll get to it, but do we talk about, I mean, because I feel like at the end there, she offed him. So did we really need a half-hour chunk to off Pershing? Someone we didn't like, we thought was out of the picture. It wasn't like, he was like in each episode and we're like, oh my gosh, when's he going to be back? Or on,
Right.
we're not on the edge of our seat saying, dude,
Yeah.
what is going on with Pershing right now? Get back to that. There, no one said that. Nobody said that.
There's no Twitter account.
The actor didn't even say that.
There's no Twitter account called @Pershing Updates.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Real quick, let's acknowledge a super chat from Brandon Whitmore. Says Kenny O'Brien / Elia was a cop in the city I lived in 6 years ago, and I likely met her at a friend's house party back then. And thank you very much for the happy birthday. I will go buy a Star Wars. I wonder if I could find a Ahsoka credit collection anywhere. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to find one.
That's awesome, Brandon.
Just putting it out there.
A Reva retro collection.
Oh, do I? No, I have that. I thought Elia was is it Elia or Elia?
Elia, like Elias, kind of, but just Elia.
So for a character that
A
didn't
liar.
that's right. She's a liar.
Dude,
I thought she was great.
Yeah, I loved her.
I thought she was great, and I liked that character. I like that. Definitely more importance put on her than any of her previous appearances. But I do agree, Jake, that like it was pretty obvious and evident what was happening. It wasn't a big twist, like, oh, she's leading him. At first I was like, okay, one of them is still, aligned with the Empire in some way.
Yeah, you feel that, right? Because a lot of people are saying she's just one of the converts that maybe is starting to go over to the First Order. No, for me, she's straight up still serving Gideon or Thrawn or someone, right? She is evil from the start, right?
Yeah, I don't. Oh, thank you so much. We'll acknowledge your super chats as we go. Thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Kayla.
I completely agree. I do I think it's still way too early to be thinking First Order. We're still talking about the remnants of the Empire. Moff Gideon is still at play. We know Thrawn is going to be I would not be surprised. I think Jacob Walsh said this. I would not be surprised if we have an episode that is like the backdoor pilot to Ahsoka this season, right? Where we deal with that part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
There was also some talk this week that this episode seemed to bring in a lot of the concepts that were originally going to be in the Rangers of the New Republic show, right? Because this dealt with, we're on Coruscant, we're seeing
the New Republic, like, kind of keep tabs on and make it's almost like a conversion type deal, conversion camp, where it's like you gotta.
I didn't get good.
Kind of rebranding you and like
convert.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. Which is the name of the goddamn episode. Thank you.
So listen,
so much.
Knowing what eventually happens to the entire New Republic in The Force Awakens, it's kind of funny to see like these people like
these aristocrats thinking they're awesome.
Oh
yes,
yes, very handsy.
Yes,
kind of a little like God damn it! What's the name of the gambling planet from The Last Jedi?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah,
a little bit of Canto Bite.
Canto Bite. There it is. Thank you.
Bite.
There you go.
And yes, happy birthday, Jacob Walsh, which we're still celebrating. Thank you, Davey.
All month long.
So I'll just say I gave this about 5 credits. Like it had enough. Let's go back to the beginning. I think the opening scene. Well, not the very opening scene, but the space battle where they're going back to Bo-Katan's castle and they fight the TIE interceptors. That entire sequence to me was top tier Star Wars. Like as far as like ship battles and we talked about it earlier, the skydiving scene and the end. Like, I love the N1 Starfighter, $131.99 with a figure coming soon,
Yeah.
according to yakface.com. But Abby, what'd you think of that opening sequence?
It's a good looking vehicle. I liked that they kind of picked up exactly where they left off, like one beat later. And they sort of talked about they
Like
being
Karate Kid.
Bo and exactly. Like Bo checked in and was like, "Did you see did you see anything when we were down there?" And it was like Din saying like, "No, didn't like nothing. I didn't
look like anything to
look like
me."
anything to me," which is either like he's kind of dim or he is.
I think the writing for Din, I think what they're trying to,
Jarn.
Yeah, exactly.
it kind of feels like what they're trying to do this year is, he's so focused on his redemption, but like, I would say the writing so far, dialogue wise, is the stiffest that it's been. Like, when he just goes, "I am redeemed," I was just like, okay, we know, we saw. Like, it was a little iffy, but
there should have been a little like teardrop that like beat it up at the bottom of his helmet. Bloop.
Oh,
yeah,
hell yeah.
But I thought the opening
I'll bottle
sequence
that.
was really cool, and like the dynamic between Bo-Katan and Mando is pretty great.
I agree.
The special effects are top notch. They definitely threw all the money at this opening space scene. It was fantastic. I think that there was no point in that because they actually went on location, right?
Right,
Are we
exactly.
obsessing over Pershing right now?
We're just look at him.
Yes.
Pershing. Look at these
Alaya,
two.
though, for real. Major, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
Major babe.
Not the best screen grab I could ever got. That's fine.
Did it not feel like the hills of Andor, though, on that bank heist planet that they were flying over? It felt very similar. Those valleys and stuff that they were going through.
Well, the volumes, in one location. They got to keep it.
Yes.
Those look like on location shots, which was much appreciated. That also made this episode feel a little more cinematic than maybe, when they're walking around the mines of Moria.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. Keep going.
I was just going to say that I think the action is top notch, and I think that was the first time we saw TIE pilots. Is that the first time we've seen TIE pilots in Disney Plus series?
Well,
I'm
no,
trying to think hard.
We saw him in Andor, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, we saw TIE fighters.
We saw TIE fighters. I just don't recall seeing the TIE pilots.
Yeah.
And these are even the ones that have the gray stripes, which come from Return of the Jedi, as opposed to the blackface ones, which were more of Star Wars. I was excited to see them. It is weird to think that they are, we've seen two versions of the Empire in this series. We've seen the broken down, the gritty, that lived on Navarro. And then we've seen, Moff Gideon's unit be top notch and crystal clean. And so these obviously pulled from that, but.
I want to get into, because we're going to break this down, and we can get into the ins and outs of how necessary this was. I don't doubt with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, I do not doubt that everything that happened in this episode, it's necessary for the plot going forward. But the execution, making it this full episode where you go through the rehabilitation, you see their apartments they're living in, and then whatever. But the thing that really interests me, the thing that will continue to interest me about this part of the timeline in Star Wars, is this post Return of the Jedi, pre Force Awakens timeline, where we know the rise of the First Order and Snoke and the eventual cloning of Emperor Palpatine is all on the table. And you can kind of see, it almost felt like bringing Pershing in, and he's giving this speech at Coruscant to this big conference.
TED Talk.
He's giving his TED Talk.
Did you realize where that was?
Where was it?
That's the Opera House.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the Opera House, have you guys ever heard the tale? No, I'm just kidding. The
tale of Pershing the Cloner.
He was a wise convert. I think Jake, I want to pick your brain on this. We know that the original plot was, Grogu was the asset. They wanted to clone his blood, right? And
His
there was some
M count.
his M count because of the midichlorians. Let's just call it like we see it. Where
They
do
don't
you
say
think
the M word anymore. Come on.
they,
now.
they don't. Where do you think
Redacted.
this piece of the puzzle, right? Because Pershing, she uses him to get the equipment she needs. They mind flay him. She turns the notch to 11. He's done. Okay, he's going to be hosting Hasbro Pulse live streams.
Aw.
And I should have said that.
No. Timestamp.
So am I. We're live.
You're right. All right.
I just broke Stevens. Oh man. But I think that where do we think this cloning where's this going? Like what is the next step? Who is it still Moff Gideon? What is this? Does this have to do with Snoke? Does this have to do with the Emperor? Where are we going with this?
All right. Well, we saw Snoke, reject clones looking like that. What is that scene out of, was it Alien 4? Where she had all the Sigourneys in there all messed up. So we saw some proto Snoke batches on what was it, Gideon's ship, I think, or Gideon's base that they went into. So we know that is in the works. I think that they're needing some top-notch cloners, which again, this is I don't know where it's going, but it feels weird that the person that they need, they just mind effed, right? I mean, so I feel like they wanted him to get his gear and get ready to work on in secret on this project, but then they go and they nuke his brain. So it doesn't quite sit well with me just yet. Maybe he's not that bad off. I don't know, but
yeah.
I definitely think this is Gideon's Black Ops work in progress, which is why people start to throw around the First Order, right? Is Thrawn out there lost, or is Thrawn out there found his way to Sidious, or working for those those alien people that are trying to bring him back on that Exegol planet, whatever those people were that just got nuked at the end of that show.
Oh, you thought the Sith worshippers? They're worse than the Mandalorians.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
They're like, we're just gonna sit on this planet for 50 years until
waiting for the big moment. Yeah.
So I think we're leading in that direction, but I don't understand the steps they took. They wanted him to get his gear, but then why? To set him up? Did they just need to know what gear he needed? Because that sounds stupid.
It kind of felt like that, though. Like they needed him to identify which table full of goodies that they needed for cloning.
Yeah.
But
they just took him to a random Star Destroyer. They didn't even take him to Gideon's Star Destroyer, right? And then they did sow that seed of doubt. Rumors have it Gideon even escaped. They said he got mind flayed. And then they're like, well, I heard he escaped. So right now that's ambiguous. So we don't know who's pulling the strings to set Elia up to do this.
Okay. Interesting. Right.
Yeah. I feel like she did Pershing wrong, because that would eventually move her up. Like whoever it is that we're talking about that's in charge of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like whoever the big bad is.
We need to talk how dumb the New Republic is. I mean,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Letting all this just happen right under their watch, right? They got Imperial, they got automated Blade Runner type, questionnaires by droids. They've got bureaucracy. They're like, oh, it's usable, but it's the Empire, so let's destroy it. I mean, like his whole job is to get rid of useful stuff. I'm like, blow this planet up, right? Blow them all up.
It was nice to see Coruscant again, but quickly reminded these people suck. The New Republic, they're making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
They're not utilizing you would think what they would do would be, okay, we're going to take all of this stuff that we're acquiring from the Empire, and anything that's useful and resourceful, we're going to repurpose it. And hey, we even have all these people who used to be part of the Empire who are in our rehabilitation program, our amnesty program.
Yeah.
Coruscant's amnesty program, which, when they're sitting around the table like reminiscing about the old days, like, I was like, what is this, Battlestar Galactica? What am I watching?
There was a lot of that feeling of like, oh, who's gonna switch, who's actually like undercover.
He's like,
similar.
I didn't know anybody from Moff Gideon's ship was here. They're like, what? Mike Tarkin with a nice little comment here. This is what I don't understand. Pershing is valuable to Gideon. Why does she mind flay him? Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully,
Mike.
Yeah, we'll have Mike on one week. He's got some great Star Wars insight.
Yeah.
So really the primary purpose of this episode, I think the main points they needed to get across were the New Republic has a rehabilitation program. Pershing is still a cloning expert. They want to leverage the Empire, or whoever the big bad is, wants to leverage that knowledge to continue whatever the project was. And then really all you can break down is the way it was executed. So Abby, kind of walk me through, it was so like teeth grinding, slow paced, like she knocks on his door, they have a conversation.
Oh, the betrayal by biscuits?
Just
yes.
By biscuits.
Yes, I did write that down. Yeah, I mean that all of that was so obvious. Like at the you can feel the tension. It feels ominous when Pershing sits down to have the little fun drinks. You can tell that there's like just an air of like ominousness between how she's talking to him and the way he's nervous. And when somebody befriends you that quickly and is like providing stuff for you, it's always suspicious. So yeah, it was kind of like pulling teeth a little bit to get through all that. I did enjoy like some of the espionage, like going undercover stuff, like to get on the train and lying about your tickets. And then that stuff was a little bit exciting.
Yeah, but don't they do that stuff in Star Wars too much? Like I was half expecting them to like dress up like, because we all know the number one rule in Star Wars is you got to put on whoever you're going against, you got to dress like them and pretend to be them for at least 10 minutes at any given time. So I thought they were
when you're
being
set up though, because
right.
That's how you get away with it. This was not getting away with it. This was a setup.
Right.
But you did see that the ticket takers, the police on this, no, not the ticket takers. Maybe, it was the ticket takers. The
security on the train?
There was security on Coruscant that was very much that Clone Wars security. Remember that whole detective that they called in to find Ahsoka's lightsaber or something? You gotta go way back for this.
Yeah.
But they were using similar Clone Wars designs for some of those security droids on Coruscant, which I'm here for. I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get those little nuggets, especially the further we get into this and when Ahsoka rolls out. There's going to be a lot of callbacks to Rebels and continued callbacks to Clone Wars, which I think is good. I still find myself, I'm not familiar enough with the canon, novels and comics to really understand what the origins of the First Order are. I'm sure there's some
they didn't write them. They did not write them. That is the biggest problem. That's why they're having to explain them. When did Force Awakens come out? 2015? Is that really right? 2015.
8 years ago.
So that was 8 years ago, and they still didn't go, like when you watch Screen Crush, they always resort to that Sidious arrived or Palpatine, returned somehow, was Poe's literal line. They didn't put any thought or energy into it. There is no dynamic, at least in Star Wars and Empire and Jedi, and even in the prequels, there is a scope of how the galaxy works, how the Empire came to rise, how the Republic was there. There was a balance. You knew who had power. You knew who rose to power. There is not that, right? There is not even a clear vision in Mando of how strong the remnant empire really is. They just don't address it with as clarity like they have in the past. But again, it's
frustrating.
Multiple people taking the story, whereas George had control over.
Yeah, exactly. And you have like a story Bible and like everything. Right. You know what you can reference and what's not to be fucked with. Yeah, and you know where you're going is the most important thing.
And it's frustrating too because, and I think this is why an episode like this week is frustrating, because you've got almost an hour. A lot of these episodes are 30 minutes, 35. I think this episode was 53 minutes or something like that. And to focus that much attention and detail on this part of the story when these types of questions are lingering and they're out there and there's way and listen, I love theme parks, I love toys, I love collectibles, and I love merchandise, but it almost felt like they were auditioning this area of Coruscant when they're out there, when they're at the top of the mountain and all that stuff, and they're drinking their fizzy drinks and their
Park
popsicles.
music's playing.
Yeah, and the Force Awakens scores his blast. Did you guys notice that?
Yes, the March of the Resistance is played during like circus sound. So
Yeah.
that is really weird. Like
Yeah.
that shouldn't exist for like another 25 years.
Has that ever happened? Have they ever played music in besides like
Yes, Rebels played the Imperial March on like Imperial Day or Empire Day, right?
So there is okay.
So they have done that before, but at least that song was established before. Like that's in continuity, right?
Right.
This is like I'm predicting the future. The Resistance chose a circus song for their march, is what happened.
We're the Resistance. We are the light. We are the spark that will ignite the galaxy against the First Order. We are the second coming of the rebellion. Hey, this circus music sounds pretty cool. Could that be like our official?
They're like doing flips on banthas.
Yeah. Step right up, get your travel biscuits, only $29.99. So that's what I was gonna say. It feels like, this is like Galaxy's Edge. Like they want people to be in the mindset of like, oh, it'd be cool to go.
Feels like advertising. Yeah.
It feels blatant. Like, I don't know.
The top of the planet, the rock there, the top of the mountain that they do, that is actually a Empire or Jedi era. I think it's Jedi era. That is a Ralph McQuarrie concept.
I did read that. Read that.
Right.
So that is a Ralph McQuarrie painting that you can find out there if you do some Googles. And so that was very cool. I do appreciate that. And we have seen this before, not in, obviously this show, but we've seen it before in I don't know if it's Clone Wars or comics, but they have been to this area before in new Disney era. Maybe it was a novel. It's so much content, right? So much content in the last 8 years. It's like, we grew up living 3 years between movies. You got to know pretty much every minute detail. Ryan is saying it was in Clone Wars. Okay, so there it is.
So that brings me to another point as we discuss this. And Ryan, if you want to join us, you're more than welcome anytime. Is it too much content? Is the sheer amount of, you had the final season of Clone Wars and then Bad Batch, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Andor, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and now we're back to Mandalorian. Like,
you forgot Cal Kestis's story and
books and comics and does it rub a little bit of the shine off? Because I was having this talk with Jacob Walsh today, and he was saying like, man, we're season 2 of Mandalorian. It felt like every episode that was special, and you're like, it just involved in this magical time to be a Star Wars fan. And we've lived through the sequel trilogy where it's behind us now, and we got through Obi-Wan. And
I think you mean survivors
of the sequel trilogy.
STS.
Hey, are you STS? Yeah, I survived.
Yeah, but when like the story,
I'm PTS too.
Yeah,
post-traumatic Star Wars disorder. That's
perfect. Sure.
PTSWD.
I've been diagnosed.
So let roundtable it. Is the shine?
Well, what I was thinking is perhaps we've had the heyday. Perhaps that's behind us. But
we had the heyday in 1983.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, what I was thinking though is that it seems like the shows now are almost serving to feed people into the next show, like get you excited for Andor to get this. Right now, it's like let's get everyone excited for Ahsoka. And when your direction is to like the thing you're building up is not even the show that you're watching, it can, I guess, suffer a little bit. And I feel like that's kind of.
Well, that's what's happening.
Like, and especially if, like you were saying, Jake, like without a story and an outline and the obvious like structure of what they're working towards, they're struggling a little bit.
Well, does anyone feel sometimes whiplash? I mean, I love Star Wars. I'm going to watch everything that they put out everywhere, even the stupid YouTube kids, alien shorts that they put out there, right? I'm like, all right,
Oh, shout
let's
out
learn about
to
porgs this week.
Troy Benjamin produced all the.
Love Troy.
Love those
Troy's best.
segments. Yes, love Troy.
Now, my point is, I'm going to take it all in. But do I sometimes feel like it's a bit whiplash because you're like, okay, Andor is 20 years before Mando. The sequel trilogy is 25 years after Mando. Ahsoka is going to be at the same time as Mando. Star Wars Visions doesn't take place anywhere because it's non-EU. The Bad Batch is 2 days after Order 66.
Yep.
I mean, it is definitely like, it's here. And we got the Acolyte apparently is, filmed now. The Acolyte's, I think, done.
8 60-minute episodes.
And so that's going to be 200 years in the past. And so now do we get Yoda back? And that's going to be interesting because our beloved voice actor, is not able to do the voice anymore. So what does Yoda look like going forward if he ever appears again? So
wait, Frank Oz? Or
no,
to
not
well,
that
no,
one.
but Acolyte's live action, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Frank Oz, is he doing anything anymore? I haven't heard him voice a Muppet or a. Did he actually record dialogue for? Oh, I guess he did.
Frank Oz did for Last Jedi, but that was
he
already
did Last Jedi.
7
But
years
that
ago.
was, yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know. Does seem like it's a bit like chaotic. Like, okay, what like Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew is going to be at the same time as Mando because you heard the rumor, right? You heard the rumor
about the pirates.
The pirates are going to bleed into Skeleton Crew. That's their introduction. So, it is very like the Mando world is going to be super incestuous, right? Ahsoka appears here, so she can go here. Boba appears here, so he can go here. The pirates there,
I want a crossover event like that time Steve Urkel took off on his rocket pack at the end of Family Matters, and he landed on Step by Step the next episode. That's what I want.
See,
actually, I want Steve Urkel on The Mandalorian.
I was going to highlight this real quick. It feels like the whole clone thing is to bring a connection to from Bad Batch to Mando, which, I mean.
And I feel like it's reversed. I feel like Bad Batch is trying to connect us because they've started to do the Mount Tantus, and the cloners and the Caminos are trapped, and they're going to torture people if they don't do the right cloning experts. So,
yeah,
if we go to Tantus in the live action, that would make sense, right? I mean, Disney we can use the word synergy, right? Remember when the week of Mando, Baby Yoda healed Mando, and then that week, Rise of Skywalker came out, and she was all about,
force healing.
Healing, dragons and force healing dragons. Man, that is a band name.
We're force healing dragons from the sands of Tatooine.
Yeah, they're definitely playing.
And we're ready to rock.
Oh man, yeah. Max Rebo, hit it.
Hey, no, you wanna give me a break in a series? I am on the edge of my seat, still waiting to see if that motherfucker survived the explosion.
Yeah, when's that storyline?
Why is that not the post-credit scene?
Where is that? Where is that? I want him like burned half his body, still on the guitar, right?
They put him in Darth Vader gear.
Mysteriously returns.
Let's
go to look like when Gonzo from Muppet Babies put on the Vader mask.
Yeah.
Soulcraft says Star Wars movies in theaters were meant to be special. No movies the last few years. Yeah, and it kind of seems like they're going to finally announce what the next Star Wars movie is at Celebration.
Yeah,
but I'm on record. There's exactly 2 ways that I will be excited for a new Star Wars movie. You ready for this? I know we're getting off and I've already said this, but Jake, you're the expert, so I'm just going to put it out there. My least likely option is they announce Star Wars Episode 10 and they continue the saga in some way, or they announce we are starting a brand new Star Wars saga, a new trilogy that takes place 1,000 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, and give us the scroll, give us the music, make it an event, and let us get invested in new characters, new timeline, not worried about, oh, I saw that guy in season 4, episode 7 of Clone Wars. Like, that is a distraction. Easter eggs aren't so great all the time.
Yeah, but I'm going to challenge you. Some of the
On my show.
On his birthday.
On my birthday.
Take this. Some of the series we've watched in the past, I'll say Rebels. Let's start with Rebels. Only when they brought in familiar characters did those shows take off.
Sure.
Like once you threaded in Rex and Ahsoka and Maul and Vader, people were like, this is the greatest show ever. Because the first 2 seasons, when it was just the Rebels crew, people are like, you know, and it just, there is something to that, right? I mean, there is something to that. Book of Boba Fett. Boba Fett, granted, established character. Yes, we know. But he was kind of gone through a metamorphosis there. But it was only when they brought in Mando where people are like, yeah, Book of Boba Fett,
Sure.
So I do think there are those touchstones that you need in the series, because here's the other counter argument I'll make. In the old Knights of the Old Republic, they went back super long ago, right? All those games, super, like number 1 selling video game of all time, I think, is that first Knights of the Republic, right? Uber popular. But if you go back and watch those trailers, they got Clone War, they got Clone Troopers, they got Protocol droids, they got Jedi, they got Sith, and you're just scratching your head going, this is 1,000 years ago?
Right.
Because it just feels like it's current day, just a different story. And so my problem is, if you go 1,000 years in the future, you're going to want Jedi, you're going to want Sith, you're going to want droids and troopers, and it's going to look more of the same because they've tried this before in the other direction. So I think
what I worry about is kind of what the person was saying in the chat. Like, what is going to give it that feeling, that event feeling of seeing a Star Wars movie, like, which, like, it's been diminishing returns. Like, first of all, no matter what you think of the sequel trilogy, the electricity of the audience anticipating the logo and the scroll, like, that is real. That is not there for Rogue One. It's not there for Solo. And the TV shows are their own thing, and I like that. But I think you have to, I don't necessarily think one-off. I don't think the Star Wars universe is as interesting. Like, I think the best part of the Star Wars universe is the Sith and the Jedi, and they're making me more and more interested in the Mandalorian world, right? And that's a testament to that show and the writing and everything. But I don't know if, like, oh, this is like an action adventure movie.
You don't want supplemental stories. You want like the main.
Not for films. Like, there's so many opportunities to do that in TV shows, video games, podcasts, whatever. There's a million ways to do media. But for a Star Wars movie, I think being invested in a long form story that's going to take place over a couple chapters is a key ingredient. And I don't think they're going to continue it with episode 10, because I don't think they're going to put Daisy Ridley and like that. She's great. Like, those movies, like Last Jedi made less money than Force Awakens, and then Rise of Skywalker made a lot less money. So no wonder they don't know what they're going to do. Abby, what are they going to do?
I mean, I've seen some suggestions in the comments. I mean, Jake, I think you can speak on it if you'd like.
Well, the rumors I've heard is that the next movie is set to take place 5 years after the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
So, I mean, but here's the thing. The prequels were not well received, but they made so much money.
Right.
They made so much money. But if you were to ask somebody today, I mean, Abby's wearing a Jar Jar shirt. People have become very nostalgic about it, right? Yes. So we are talking about, there are kids who were 8 when The Force Awakens came out. They'll be 16 now. When the next Star Wars movie comes out, they're 18. You tell me an 18 and 20-year-old, did you not start getting nostalgic about the things you collected when you were 8?
Sure, 100%.
I
But
mean,
I don't.
that's the thing, though. My worry about the reviews is the kids who like the content. Star Wars, George Lucas made it infamous. I make my movies for kids, right? Kids aren't the people that go on social media. Kids aren't the people that go on Rotten Tomatoes. Kids aren't the kids who rally their friends to downgrade, critics and reviews,
That's
right?
us.
Right?
Yeah, that's
No.
an adult thing.
So here's the thing. When you hear all this negativity toward a franchise, it is coming from adults. And if you're
Sure.
dealing with a content or media that is not necessarily focused for adults, but when adults love it, it's good, then, that's the thing. It is definitely perspective. I mean, I love when people are like, kids don't collect toys. How do you know? How many kids do you know? Like,
Right.
and they're like, well, I'm on social media. I'm like, nope, try again.
Right.
Right.
I will say this. I do not have a sense for, I could see, I don't know how kids, of the most impressionable age took in the Star Wars sequel trilogy and what their feelings will be about it 10 or 15 years later, because it is a completely different time right now. There's a lot of competing content. We're in the world of, the Marvel, which is the closer to classic Star Wars as far as popularity. At least it was at its top. So I don't know. In 10 years, is there going to be a groundswell of people who are like, oh, we want Daisy Ridley back in Star? Maybe I want Daisy Ridley back in Star Wars. I think there's some. I have my issues, a lot of issues with the sequel trilogy, but none of them have to do with the characters.
That's the thing. The characters are not the problem. It's the direction. It's the behind the scenes. It is the choices that to not follow a steady storyline, but instead, this director, now this director, now this director, but they can't do it. So now this director, that director can't do it, or we fired him. So let's bring back the first director. I mean, that is the core issue. Is Rey? I mean, I'll tell you right now, the Lego series that pick up right after the sequel trilogy are my canon. The fact that Rey's out there training Finn how to be a Jedi, that is 100% the story I want. I want more of that. I want that in real life. I want that storyline. Rey bringing back the Jedi Order and starting with Finn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Finn's got a lightsaber in his pants for her. And so that's a huge dynamic that I want to see, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then we can get a 45-minute episode of Rey sneaking Finn onto a train and then mind flaying him. I know that apparently I'm lagging for some reason, even though me and Abby are in the same room using the same internet, but I don't know.
I'm taking up all the good internet.
What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Is it better, everybody? If it's not, it looks fine. It looks
good.
fine on our end. The show must go on. So
I thought I was lagging. I thought it was my connection. So I'm telling the kids, I need more Wi-Fi.
Get off.
Get off Fortnite.
Kids shouldn't be playing with toys and watching Star Wars.
Our internet.
I was just playing Fortnite actually before this.
Our internet's a little slow right now for some reason. I don't know. Are we being throttled? Is Lucasfilm watching? They're throttling us. We're being hacked.
We love the travel biscuits.
Okay, so I'm better now. Okay. Oh yeah, guys. By the way, tonight's episode is brought to you by Travel Biscuits. Only available if you pre-book your $3,500 one-night stay at Star Cruiser, whatever the fucking thing is called.
You get a choice of red or yellow on your pillow.
Galactic Star Cruiser, which also sounds like an 80s prog metal band. So where we think we're going with this season of Mandalorian, because it's already way different than I thought the whole season was going to be this battle of wits between Bo-Katan and Din, and now it seems like they're going to be teaming up. It's going to be those two, going on adventures together.
Is it? Because I feel like the trailer showed like two factions of Mandos looking at each other, and with angry helmets on.
Mhm.
I feel like that is what we're teased. I told Jay last week on his show, I was like, after this episode, I don't know where we're going. And I would never have predicted an Andor intermission this week, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
truly, I am still, out there. I mean, obviously, well, did we talk exactly on Bo? Bo, to me, I feel like is totally knows what she's doing. Some people's like, she's a convert. No. She is 100% playing the game. She knows she saw the mythosaur. She made sure Mando didn't see it so she could harness this to get her clan back, to get her, she's like, didn't she take off her helmet last episode too after she saw it?
That's what
mean,
I was gonna. Yeah, I was gonna ask. Like, how do we know she's not going to? And how do we know that like the two of them together might want to take their helmets off? Sorry to interrupt you, Jake.
You're not supposed to take your helmets off with another person unless you're in love and married.
That's
Everybody
what I
knows
was
that.
told.
Yeah,
Everybody knows that.
Given a
Mandos
promise
have to do
helmet.
it with the helmet on, right?
They do.
Keep the
Metal on
helmet
metal.
But yeah, it's in. Yeah, I guess there's.
It was
that's the
pretty
question.
messed up when the new empire was like destroying her castle. Not that it looked like a very homely place to be hanging out in, but
I want to see more trauma from that because she's used to seeing her whole planet bombed. Now she had her lake house cabin just nuked. She's like, all right, I'll go live in a cave. No,
hey, you know what I love? You know what popped me and made me laugh really hard was when she goes to 0Gs in the ship and
R5.
the R5
R5.
unit is just like
Skippy.
Yeah,
that's very funny. Like that
Yeah.
to me, that's the magic of Star Wars, where it's like you're in this high octane action sequence and there's a space battle going on, but there's some fun and adventure and laughs. And guess what? That's important in Star Wars. There's always a little bit of sometimes you gotta have a little bit of a sense of humor.
Levity.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I was gonna say
No
especially to balance
levity in
out.
the Andor intermission here.
No,
There was
no.
That's yeah.
No. I did like
no. There was that hilarious moment when he almost touched the tip of the mountain.
Wait, they almost touched the tip of the mountain.
That was fun.
And then
I
the
had fun
little
with that.
buzz droid came around and said,
Reminds me of
"Eh."
me just, meh.
Sorry.
That-
So what do we think next week? What do we think next week's going to be? I would have not predicted any of the.
No.
Is next week
No.
going to be at least focused on Mando and the gang? Can
Well,
we get
we
some
need-
Grogu in our Grogu show?
Well, we need a shocking cameo because that seems to be right. That seems to be what they do, right? They either bring
Yeah.
in Luke or Ahsoka, or that we need somebody who's been in hiding, someone that they've been hiding that's going to be in the series, right? I mean,
Right.
it's going to be Han Solo or something. Can you imagine if Harrison Ford showed up? That would be.
Hey, he's on every other show.
Yeah, exactly.
He should show up the week Indiana Jones drops.
Yeah, that'd be good. He's
That'd
like,
be good.
look, I don't want to talk to this fake. He's like, I don't care if it looks like Yoda. I don't know what a Yoda is. What episode was it in? I'm trying to think. It's usually like episode 5, 6, and 7 is when if you go by the cadence of season 2 of Mandalorian, and then it wasn't until episode like 6 until they did the Ahsoka Luke Grogu training episode. I've seen there was a theory going around that Omega, what's her name?
Omega.
Yeah.
No,
Omega.
I know Omega.
You know
but
who she is.
I know who
Someone
she is.
who would be playing her.
There was a theory going around that the reason why I can't think of her name now. This person was so interested in cloning is because that's actually Omega. It's
Katie
not.
O'Brien?
Yeah, it's not. It's a dumb theory. It's a stupid
I've
Star
seen
Wars.
it thrown around.
She's
yeah.
not. She's 28 years old. She should be the same age as Boba at this point.
How old's
There's no
Omega?
way.
Yeah,
She's the same age as Boba. It does not matter.
Yeah.
She should be a grizzly old 64-year-old.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like 50 or 60. Yeah.
And she should have like an Australian or New Zealand accent. Okay.
I did take actually I do take issue with her acting a little bit in here because she's got kind of that like rough and tough kind of Bronxy type swagger to her, and I'm like
Mhm.
that's not Imperial Officer. That does not feel like Imperial Officer at all to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pershing I like though. Pershing kind of feels like, you could have seen him getting chewed out by Tarkin or something. Like
Well, Pershing gives off Bodhi vibes, right? That nervous, frantic, from Rogue One, right?
I was thinking Point Break. Okay, got it. Bodhisattva. Sorry, continue.
You too.
Jacob says Carl Weathers directs the next episode, so he's going to be in it then.
Of course.
That's usually how that
Yeah,
works.
we know where it's taking place.
We're going back to Navarro
Right.
to see
Navarro. It's going to star him and Mando on a buddy cop adventure.
Look, Mando, we got this IG unit ready to go, and now you're saying you don't want them. That's literally going to be a line of dialogue. We already got the R5 unit. An R5 unit.
You know what? Here's what I expect. I expect now that they've set a precedent that we will have these little lapses or intermissions from Mando's story, and so I have no doubt that we'll see one in maybe a couple weeks, and it'll be a 30-minute segue, like you said, into Ahsoka,
Sure.
right?
And I'll be excited.
Or we'll see a segue into Skeleton Crew, right? Or because they have established they expect you to watch all Disney Plus content because they did major character arcs in the Book of Boba Fett, right? And they're just going to let that happen, right?
Right.
So that means they're going to establish things in or we can have a whole episode on Boba the Fett. Well, what do I?
Boba the Fett.
Boba the Fett.
Sure.
To set up second season. I mean, there is, because second season is happening, and it's, so
second season of Book of Boba Fett's happening?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So everything is on the table now for what I feel like they could do with this series.
So was Obi-Wan good? Was that show good?
No, I don't like talking about it. Don't like talking about it. He is my number one favorite Star Wars character. And Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor acted the hell out of it, but was the show good? No, that's next topic.
Okay. All right. Well, now that we Jacob's not even on the show and he's still trying to get it, shut it down.
You're just like the actual show, The Mandalorian. You're trying to talk about all the other shows during it and distract us.
Oh man, I think we've unpacked this about as much as that we're going to tonight. So Abigail, do you have any final thoughts on the convert?
Yeah, like I said, it was enjoyable and distracting and fun, but not important to the plot line that I care about. I don't have any like egregious complaints, and it didn't offend me in any way, but it was I'd like to see some like really big stuff happen in the next episode and the ones after that.
There has not been any holy shit moments. And this show has really we're trained to come, we're supposed to expect them now. Like we want the big cameo, like Jake was saying. We want the big, can you believe Grogu's first words were, I don't know.
Fuck.
Fuck. Grogu's first words were Ron
Star
Howard
Trek started it. Hey, anybody can do it now. If Star Trek's cussing, anyone's cussing.
Well, so wasn't it in Andor? It was supposed to be "fuck the Empire," but they changed it.
Yeah.
Wow. Jake, any final thoughts on tonight's episode of Mandatory Mando?
It sets a new place for where Mando is. I like Mando so much. I really do feel selfish in saying stick to Mando's story. Stick to Mando's story. You don't need to convince me how the sequel trilogy came about through Mando. let me have Mando's story, right?
Yeah, sure.
I don't
Yeah.
apologize for the sequel trilogy chaos with Mando. Mando
Right.
is the apology because it's badass, right? So just keep that on the up and up, keep it going because that's what I love, right? Um, I think this season could really go anywhere, but I do think it will definitely segue into future content. It is definitely, setting the ball up so someone else can smack it out down the road. And whereas I thought originally, I swear they said Mando was a 3-season series, but now that Jon Favreau is going around saying he wrote season 4, I feel like there could be, they could be using the momentum of, and I'm going to go deeper here to Disney Plus. Disney Plus is using the popularity of Mando to feed all these other shows.
Sure.
And they don't necessarily have to focus on making it the big wow thing because it's the last season. They can do that next season after they've teed up all these other things. So,
Right.
there has been that whole Bob Iger is back in the game. And so Bob Iger is a huge Star Wars fan. He's a welcome return. Chapek can Chapek right off. And so he fudged the numbers on Disney Plus. Disney Plus wasn't quite as profitable as they wanted. So they're definitely going to, try to get people on board, right? By, as seen in Mandalorian, now the skeleton crew, or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Brand recognition.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though, like they said, what is it? Andor was like the lowest rated Star Wars show so far. As far as people watching it. But the thing is about Andor was it wasn't that accessible of a show. It was a really well written show and a really well acted show and a very unique standout piece of the Star Wars universe. But that is a little bit of an acquired taste, which I think is fine. What I worry about with all this stuff is we've seen what's happened, when Marvel started, when the MCU started launching their shows, it was like, oh, we've got WandaVision, really cool and out there. And then Bucky and Captain America. What was that show called? Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier, not Bucky and Captain America. I know what it's called, but
everything's wrong.
And that show was good. But then you start getting into it starts being diminishing returns. And the thing about Star Wars fans, though, I think most hardcore Star Wars fans and even casual Star Wars fans are like all of us. We're gonna watch it, right? We're gonna be there. 100%. That's why I thought retelling the audience what happened in Book of Boba Fett was so redundant. It's like who do you think's watching this that doesn't know that Grogu and Mando are back together? Because if they don't know Grogu and Mando are back together, they don't remember 2.5 years ago when they split. That's just those are those other people that watch this stuff.
Well, so, if Rise of Skywalker is anything to say, they'll just drop one line and that's good enough. Palpatine's returned somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that movie sucks. God, don't get me started. It really is bad. It's really bad.
There's some great stuff in it, but overall, it's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. And you're talking to someone that loves everything. I am a shill to the day we die, but that movie is a mess.
Yeah. Well, we'll do that another night.
I want toys from it though. Make all the toys. Make all the monsters. Make all the figures.
Well, when I start my my toy company, I've told you we're starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
Craig's Bro is going to be, we're gonna each wave. It's gonna be direct to consumer. We're not dealing with retail. And if you like packaging, sorry, we're not. We're a toy company, not a packaging company.
Right.
We're going to give you great figures in small plastic bags, and you're going to get everything you ever wanted. It's going to be great.
Perfect.
I like it.
Perfect.
Abby, I'll give you the final word and we'll be done.
Great things come in small plastic bags. Can be the slogan. Final word. I love talking about Star Wars with my friends, so I'm glad that there is still new content from Star Wars to talk about. And even if it's not as great as some of the other stories or some of the other things that have happened in the Star Wars universe, I'm still happy to be watching Mando.
Sure. I get excited.
Yeah.
I wake up every Wednesday morning and I'm like, oh, gotta watch Mando. But I've noticed this year, it feels like in past years, it was like, don't get on social media, don't get on Twitter, but it feels like less people are maybe people are just getting better about that, or maybe the hype has died down a little bit. I don't know, but
That's a very good observation because I felt the same way too. I used to stay up till midnight because I was so paranoid. I was going
Yeah.
to open any particular social media thing and find out, Luke Skywalker on today's episode of Mando, and I would just be ruined. So I would
Yeah.
stay up till midnight. And again, I get up at 5:15 to get ready for school. So that was Wednesdays were rough, right?
Mhm.
Because I would get jazzed, something awesome would happen. So then all of a sudden I'm on a Google Fit, right? And now I'm looking at the clock and it's 1:45 and I'm like, what did I do? I have to
then
go
you're
to
looking up
bed.
you're logging into your portal, seeing how many sick
Right.
days you have left.
Yeah.
No.
It's fatigue, but it's fun.
But what I do this season, and again, this season, I just go to bed about a half hour earlier. So I go to bed around 11:30. I wake up at 5, which is about, and I don't have to leave the house until about 6:30. So I give myself enough time to watch it in the morning. So there is something, even me, it's like I used to have to wait till midnight to watch it. Now I'm getting some sleep and just waking up a little earlier.
Right.
And what I'm not doing is waking up early enough to watch Mando and Bad Batch. Bad Batch is an evening viewing now.
Gotcha.
Understandable.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah,
so the hype train has come down a little bit, obviously.
Come down a little bit. But that's expected. So listen, we all love Star Wars. We're doing this every week. Join us on Thursday nights for a revolving cast of characters. Jake, you are welcome back anytime.
Perfect. I love it.
And we'll keep it going. And I think we're all going to be feeling a little bit of FOMO with Star Wars Celebration coming up. But to our friends and sorry, Jake. Listen, we all want to be there, but 2025 we'll all be there in Anaheim or Orlando or Chicago or whatever it is, and it'll be a blast because we'll be probably celebrating the trailer release for Star Wars Episode 10: Rise of Grogu. I can't wait. Rise of Grogu Skywalker.
Grogu Rising.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's going to be great.
I'll be there for that.
And they're going to clone Grogu. There's going to be an evil Grogu. It's going to be a whole thing.
What if Mando is the movie? What if they make the movie Mando?
Well, I've thought about that.
Yeah.
But then again,
that would get so many butts and seats, though. Love that
it's a hot property right there.
But the problem is they want to see Pedro, and now that dude cannot take off his mask. So
because he's not in the show.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
There needs to be something like he needs to maybe his helmet's destroyed or something, and it just they have to write it in somehow.
Pedro's
are we literally gonna go this whole season and not see his face?
Yeah,
he needs to go
to like a spa and isolate so he can have his mask off for a long time. And no one will see him. It's okay, just us.
Pedro is cornered the market on reluctant father figures traveling the world with a little rascal. Jake, did you watch The Last of Us?
I am not caught up, but yes.
Not caught up. Okay. It's great.
I'm not caught up. I have not. I know it finished, just wrapped this last week, but I'm a couple episodes behind.
Gotcha.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Picard, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that matters.
I heard there's some big stuff that happened the last couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I just can't do Star Trek.
I'm watching.
It doesn't compute in my brain. Next Generation is always on in this house. And it literally, I look at it, it's, when a child is like looking at the sun and you're like, why are you just staring at the sun? You're going to hurt that's how I feel. I'm just like, what am I looking at? I don't know what's going on. I just have never been a Star Trek person. I'm not a big Chris Pine fan. Sorry.
Stop.
I respect it and I love Patrick Stewart and I do have some. It is fun seeing the old familiar faces, but I'm not that invested in it.
Jake's telling you to stop.
Well, I'm just
in the chat. Next Gen was my high school experience. I went to bed when Next Gen was over because it came on at 10 and it was over at 11, and that was high school bedtime, man. Every night watching Next Gen.
That's me now, actually, because I have a lot of Next Gen, on VHS, and that's how I like to go to bed.
Look at this.
I've seen all of it, like on Netflix when it was on there.
This has been my addiction the last few weeks. I've been hunting down every First Contact figure. I need 2 more.
Got
I
it.
need Worf and Data, and I'll have this whole line.
That's cool.
This is how you're dealing with
that's-
Star Wars now. I like it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not like there's Star Wars toys to buy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
man.
I mean, I buy them 7 years in advance and then just wait for them to show up mangled on my doorstep. So,
Jake, can I ask you
yes,
this real quick?
yes, please do. I can tell in your hesitance.
With all the McFarlane Batman announcements this week, you've got pre-orders going up on Amazon or like everything, all the spin mat. I'm not even talking about McFarlane. Let's just talk about your wheelhouse, the 3 3/4 Spin Master line.
Doing it
for kids, Jake Stevens and up.
I am a toy. Remember, I am a toy aisle collector.
You are a
if
toy
it's going
aisle
to show up
collector.
in the toy aisle, I'm probably going to collect it.
Can
if
you
have
imagine?
to log into a server exclusively to find it at 4:32 on a Wednesday afternoon, yeah, I'm not going to have that.
Listen, if you Spin Masters, 2 days ago, here's our entire line of Flash figures. There's a Batmobile. People on Amazon, people are already getting them. They just exist. People are buying toys. McFarlane, pre-order. When does it ship? April, May of this year? Unheard of. Like it's gotten to the point where the more I think about it, this is not a Hasbro thing. This is a Star Wars, possibly also Indiana Jones thing. If we start seeing the same issues with Indiana Jones, we'll this is what we call deductive reasoning.
No.
We can isolate Lucasfilm as the problem.
No, it's not even. It's exclusively Star Wars because Brandon Whitmore already has his Jones figures. Already has them. Already bought the retro set. He sent me pictures of them yesterday.
What?
Okay? Yes, he already found them in Target. So it is not. That movie is not out. The Mission Fleet, the Adventure series. Oh no, not the Adventure series. What do they call the indie Mission Fleet style? The little kitty ones. I forget. But
I believe they're called the little Shia LaBeoufs.
Yes, Shiloh series. Those are already showing up in stores. Marvel gets all their toys out. I mean, you could buy Eternals now still in the store, but you could buy them 4 months before the movie came out in the stores, right? I mean, it is exclusively a Star Wars problem. The problem is Hasbro has got so far off over their feet that they can't stop. They can't stop. And what I mean by that is the media hits here. They don't get the information until just before the media hits, and therefore they have to announce it in advance, right? Like 12 months in advance. Well, the problem is they are now always out 12 months.
Right.
12 months, 12 months, 12 months. And so if you stop, that means there will just be no Star Wars toys announced. Because what they should be doing is announcing it 1 months before it drops, right?
Sure.
But they can't shore that up anymore because now you're going to have an 8-month gap where
Right.
there is no product to announce. And Star Wars fans will go nuclear. They will go nuclear on that brand team if they stop announcing things. So that is the problem. What they need to do is slowly start to narrow their announcement windows. So like the Tusken Raider that just was announced, the Black Series one, does not come out until spring of 2024. I had to look at that and my brain didn't even register. Like, what is 2024? Like, I just like mentally doing push-ups to try to figure out spring of 2024, because that is like so much in the future. I can't even comprehend it.
For a show that will be 2.5, 3 years old by the time it comes out.
That is already a year old, right? And then the other weird thing is this figure they announced the same day is out in a few months in summer of 2023.
The vintage collection one?
The TVC one comes out this summer. The Black Series comes out a year from now. It is just, they're not doing it right. They need to close that window. So they could do a McFarlane. They can go, guess what? Boom. This figure we're going to announce in today, pre-sale, you're going to have it in 3 weeks because it's already in the US. It's already in our stores or whatever, our warehouses, and we can get it to you.
There is absolutely season 3 of The Mandalorian is the biggest thing to happen in Star Wars in since season 2 ended, right? This is even bigger than Book of Boba Fett. There's no product. You cannot go to the store and buy anything related to the Mandalorian. So, but my biggest issue always is the lack of transparency and communication. Like,
No,
just tell us what's going on.
They are so fearful
Shrouded.
of
Yeah.
that Lucasfilm executive knocking on their door, pinging them on Slack or whatever it is, that they get so fearful. They do not, I mean, because the Marvel team will say it. Marvel team,
Right.
Ryan will get on there and go, hey guys, I'm sorry that, because of the release dates got mixed up, we're going to pre-sell this now, even though the movie's not coming out then. I mean, that's all I want. That's all I want is just some chillness about it. But they are so high strung that they cannot. They are so scared. Snipers everywhere, right? Which is funny because the team that's the most paranoid makes the most leaks of anybody else.
Right. But the other thing is like they don't even release waves anymore. Like
no,
as a figure collector, you want to get excited about, oh, I'm going to go to Target and I'm going to find the whole wave of the retro carded Spider-Man figures. And there's going to be 6 of them. And I'm going to really have to be checking my bank account to see if I can pull off. Can I get 3 of them? Like whatever. But with Star Wars, it's like, here's a one-off figure. When's it come out? 2 years. What wave is it part of? We don't know. It's like, there's so many, they're missing the boat on the hype aspect so badly.
Well, and I find it ironic that plastic is the enemy, but apparently cardboard is not, because we're going to reduce all the plastic in our product, right? But we're going to sell you one figure at a time that we're going to ship in a box, one box at a time that has one tape and one bubbles inside. I mean, it's like, do they not realize when I buy one figure at a time from Amazon? My buddy just ordered a McFarlane figure from Amazon, and it came in a box this big, and it was one figure, right? I mean, it's like, what message are you sending here? Because if you're really saving the world with your economy in your plastics and whatnot, why are you having a product that used to come in one case, the whole wave in one case? Now you're spitting them out one at a time, and people are driving those using gas across town. They're putting tape on a box of a single cardboard box and saying it. I mean, I'll even order 2 figures at the same damn time, and they come in 2
boxes.
Figures, 2 boxes. I'm like,
well, what
message are we sending here?
But here's the problem. This is the last thing I'll say, because we're way off topic of whatever that show is that we watched earlier. But this is great. This is what we talk about here. YHS, toy anxiety, all this stuff. I've worked in corporate environments now for 9-10 years. You can work with the smartest people who have the most innovative ideas, but if there's communication gaps, it doesn't matter. So there is no real communication about the strategy of plastic-free packaging and how that impacts the environment in a positive way between them and the retailers and the distributor and everything else. And that's why no matter what like side of the aisle you fall on politically, that's why a lot of the times these initiatives get laughed at by one side of the aisle, because they go, you're hypocrites. You're not actually doing anything. And you know what? They have a point. You're right. They're not doing anything. Plastic-free packaging, so far, it's just more of a hassle for the collector who's still having to shell out $25 or $30, and you want to buy a Howard the Duck figure, and I don't know, you might get Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
you might get John Kent. I don't know.
Right?
Like, you don't know. Yeah. By the way, Tony Taylor, you're right. Yes, oh man. So, anyways. Well, listen, we've gone long. We appreciate your time, Jake. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
For Abigail Gardner, myself, Jake Stevens, and the entire YHS universe, we will see you next week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be doing some really fun Star Wars stuff coming up. We'll have coverage of Star Wars Celebration.
Wait, did you have a giveaway?
Oh, shit. Yeah, let's announce that again.
Thanks for keeping us on track, Jake.
Well, nobody.
Well, I kind of want to win it, so I'm like,
at this point, we might just give it to you.
Yeah.
If you use a hashtag mandatory Mando on Instagram or Twitter, in the next 24 hours. You could win Jacob Walsh's prized possession, the Dr. Pershing autograph. I might clone him and add like 3 or 4 more Dr. Pershings in there to fill up.
You know what you should do? You should just photocopy it and send him the photocopy because it's a clone.
It's a clone. Everybody
yes!
gets one.
Nice. We can, dude.
You get a Pershing, and you get a Pershing. No, this was fun. We appreciate everybody being here, and we will see you next week. So long.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.